It's an advice poem. Now, I'm not in the habit of giving advice, but just looking around at everybody, I'm thinking tonight I will give a little bit of advice. And it's advice to all the young men in the audience, whatever age, or all the people of different persuasions of gender of any age who might find themselves in a relationship from time to time. If you find yourself driving down a highway on a hot, dry summer afternoon, pay attention when your mate says, "There's a fruit stand." Don't nod your head and keep on driving. Don't say, "Yeah, yeah," and keep on driving. Don't treat the comment as if it were an observation, such as, "Look at that eagle flying overhead," or "Aren't those lambs in the field kind of cute?" The clouds on the horizon, they're ominous. Just don't. Pull over. Be happy. Buy some peaches.
In honor of the fact that I stand in America, a San Francisco-based poem. This is called Alcatrazim. Yeah, I once used a Southwest cell with a Golden Gate view, and I wish that Jew landlord had got by Hitler. And I don't care a damn that you softy social worker, once walked the tiers, pretended to eat in the mess hall with the screws and the gangsters and the pervs. They were all joints in them days. They're all joints now. It's all just pain to me, do you hear? I hate you for making me remember. Why you want me to know about this stuff anyways? Some kind of morbidity of the soul, dirty interest in other people's badness? So you walked around North Beach with a white suit on, went to City Lights and bought a book, strolled Chinatown in a sport jacket, the one you're wearing now, and it looks sad. Drank in the bars and spoke to cheap women, pretended you had cool. Took them to the Legion of Honor Museum, place I read about one time in a brochure, picture of the thinker thinking in the garden, yeah, right, and never coming to any conclusion. So put on, even Rodin couldn't help you. And even willing women couldn't jolt off the stupid from your determined suckhole face. That doesn't know dick all, because you were never there, you fraud. San Francisco does not know you. Not even the hookers and stripper trash would let you tie their shoes or tell what time it is. What did you ever do but tourist? Can you tell that kike miser to get off my back? Give me more time to get up the rent? Get me a place to live in with whiskey and swearing? Do something, anything that justifies your paycheck from taxes I would have paid if I went straight. And don't think I don't think about it. Going back to the pistol in the car. Just because I'm old enough to have done time with Carpus, handed chow to Bob Stroud and heard his sick mouth, walked that exercise yard where they do all them movies. Don't dream I wouldn't dream of giving it to somebody. An old man just gets meaner is what I've found. So don't get all sentimental on me. Nothing spiritual about a joint. Older it gets, the meaner it gets. The more I'd like to plug somebody right now. So unless you're coming with me, get out of the way. Thank you very much.
Hi. So I feel a little like Greg Bem. As a threshold brook. In this bright gray light, the blinding day, listen to the whispering of angels. Tittering wings and wordlessness float in strings of sound, such trembling music. The pavement shines. I ride the gales, wind and night. They push against, slip through skin, gripping each cadence. So hairs stand ascending pins. It's warm still inside the chill of fall. But still in motion, still inside the weathered chaos, stillness, this is happiness. Everything shines when it rains. When it rains and right after, everything shines. The Pacific's quiet arousal. The kingfishers rouse for quiet repose in blue-winged days. In praise, I build sunlight under fingertips, in each rib. Feel it lit inside the wick of grim rubbings. Uncertain burns, a light singing. In air. In air. Remember, this light, its organ warmth, sounds brass chords, a mast of fog in rooms that melts away. Hold on to such crisp, wet pleasure. Everything shines. Praise sun shearing leaves so you can see the shake of white, the shake of still of empty white, sleet of lupine time, fields, the gorgeous tickle of clean sheets, a sweep of sea aligning beach, a lingered quiet drunk in mint, balloons suspending stars. Oh, obvious stars, their light uncovers all that's honeyed, sweetly shining, shining. Everything shines. Each sun or star or skin, the leaves, the wind and eyes, each dream, idea, morning, lover, scissor, headlight, touch. It's always been this way, lost inside a simple forgetting. Brash midland breachings of each our gauzy seams. Still, warm, shining. Remember joy, each wheel a spindle slick on these wet leaves, the fall which falls, a maple in my stride, a tail whip that gasps in lungs and stays aglow, a pink and golden hue blazed within my skin, in ribs, a lift, a blessing. I ride into the day.
So I just finished this like 5 minutes before we came here, so forgive me because this is the very first draft. This poem stands at a distance adjacent to nonsense. Still, we are left with only shapes and patterns. The reader will inevitably get lost in any living thing, a toy piano or yellowing frame. Clink. I respect smoke for never returning to its origin. I respect its ability to dissipate. I respect our ability to be immunized from chimera. Where are you? I need you to shout, I am here, I am here, I am here. Clink. And
Do we have a Derek Sheffield? Perhaps we will have him later. Judith Rose!
Wow. Okay, we've heard a bunch about Cascadia today. We've heard about Ish River poets, and we are all Ish River poets. And Robert Sun told us that quite a long time ago. And of course, it refers to the rivers of this country, the Duwamish, the Duwabish, the Snoqualmie, the think of it's like Samish, Swinomish. It goes on and on. Okay, so Ish River. I did a pilgrimage at one point with about 18 other poets on a big native canoe from La Conner out into Fishtown, where Robert Sun's little cabin still stands, even though the rest of the community of Fishtown which was all artists, poets, and visual artists, is gone. So this poem is about that. Fishtown, Lower Skagit, has an epigraph by Bob Rose. From a long canoe with 18 paddlers, language burned in us. We were wild with ideas. Water rocks under us. Water pours over us from a slate sky. Water collects in the bottom of the boat, drips off our hat brims, soaks through our clothes. Purple larkspur shows vivid against rain-blackened rock faces. Columbine in niches clings in shallow soil. Saxifrage shines white on succulent stems. A red-tailed hawk drifts above, looking for lunch. We rock in the river's current. Paddles ready, then all paddles ahead, then paddles rest. Shouted from the back of the boat. A mean wind arrives from the south. We're pilgrims searching the ghost of Fishtown, hovering in this Skagit rain, but most shacks have been torn down. The land logged, leaving bare bones or nothing but green. The hopeful artists and scholars of the estuary scattered, mostly still around the valley, still making art, all in their 60s and 70s now. Some have passed a life lived for art, as ephemeral as a dance, but many leave a trail of poems and paintings behind. None can quite leave behind the life lived on the Skagit, the youthful hope and dedication, shacks, landmarks, and channels gone. But rivers have memories, says Bob Rose. Restless, they adjust in their beds. Robert Sund is gone, but his tight little cabin is a refuge from today's rain. We huddle inside and crowd around the wood stove, drink hot tea, and listen to Tim McNulty read Sund's poems of this place. Water, water, herons, rain, swallows, mud, and rain again. Even a former resident of Fishtown can't find what was there. The river has changed channels, and Fishtown is a state of mind.
Look at all these beautiful people. Yes, you are all beautiful. Why not? And thank you for taking the time. What would you be doing at home? Watching stupid TV, some idiotic DVDs, movies? Wasting your time? Well, I, Okay, so I'm going to give you two because I don't want to abuse the time given to me. Do you know who Marty Matz is or was? He passed away in 2001. I wrote this poem for him because he also wrote a lot of poems for a lot of people. Marty traveled Mexico's empty roads, moving backwards in time to find Coca-Cola, Singer sewing machines, and pool tables. He called them the unholy Trinity. Marty dedicated poems to all he knew, and this goes to him. For Marty. Pot-smoking poet immersed in pipe dreams found on the outskirts of dusty roads, climbing hills dressed In yellow leaves we rattle snake breath and elephant dreams. The green cocoons become butterflies released by the seashore, where the shaman puts the jigsaw puzzle piece back in the black hole we call sky. The monsoons, the monsoons, the monsoons, living water to dampen the quickest spirit, bring down the highest mind. Thunderbird glyphs etched on bones. Let those dreams swing wrapped in hammocks, gardenia fragrance too sweet for the tiger's claws. Alchemy of love stitched on the butterfly jaws. Hey lady, bring your ivory towers, plant your roots next to the copulating earthworms by the temple doors. Please unravel your cosmic eyes. Let them cascade down your shoulders to your lovely hips. My pendulum grows and glows from heart to ear. Please ease my inner frenzy. I am hanging on the tips of my gay spines where the skulls are pale, transfixed by the sunlight and the spinning mirrors, the rancid stench of putrid lives under the gray sky, Mexico's dirt and grime, unexplored madness. Only the stoplight clowns know where to find. Madness lurks and howls, clawing thoughts waiting for the green hummingbirds to break the purple dawn and taste the sugar mountains and the unknown along with the stones below. Thank you. One more. Very short. What? Okay. Good.
Yeah, we gotta keep the thing moving, sorry. But thank you.
Hey, everybody. God, there's nothing like a porter on a rainy night, right? Happy people are so fucking happy. Sometimes I'm trying to buy some tuna at the grocery store, and then I remember I don't know which tuna is the most sustainable, which is code word for I don't know which tuna is killing the ocean the least, but I still want to eat some fucking tuna. So then I pull out my Monterey Bay Aquarium Sustainable Fishes Wallet Laminate, and I look up which tuna is the least underfished, and then it hits me, normal people don't do this. Normal people buy the least expensive tuna or the most expensive because they think it's the best. I am still a weirdo, except only now, instead of having my mom strain the pulp out of my orange juice, I am just a social justice-y white girl who wants to make some fennel tuna salad. I am hilarious. Case in point. This one time, I was walking around my house and I stubbed my toe on my bed and I started sobbing because my room was a mess and my boyfriend wasn't coming over. And now that I have a boyfriend, no one believes I'm gay anymore. And my tarot deck lied to me and I can't ride a bike uphill for more than a couple of minutes without throwing up. And then I remembered, happy people are boring. Happy people eat frozen pizza for dinner every night and don't feel like failures for not cooking. I love frozen pizza, but when I have frozen pizza for dinner, I also have a bottle of Charles Shaw, 2 episodes of The L Word, and a pot cookie. My life is actually kind of awesome. I also make elaborate salmon dinners that are not ready until 11 p.m. and then I'm too tired to have sex. People think I'm really happy because I'm an extrovert and I like Lady Gaga, but my happy is a wide moat that is raised by sorrow, a drawbridge. My heart is a moat filled with crocodiles because I am capable of all the feelings. Take that, serotonin levels. What would it feel like to read the news and not feel chasm and anger wash over me like a cloak of helplessness? What would it feel like to just not care? If I could let go of anxiety that easily, you can believe I wouldn't spend it eating frozen pizza in front of a television. I would be on a yacht somewhere, golfing on my yacht, while a beautiful woman held my margarita and I sipped it through one of those curly straws. And another beautiful woman fanned me with a palm leaf. And another beautiful woman followed me everywhere with a basket full of puppies. Once this boy I worked with told me that being happy was really easy. He just decided to be happy and then everything was great. And I was like, the fuck? When the whole world is a parade in your honor every day, how easy it must be to ride that float and expect streamers. I've spent so long trying for happy, but I want swoon. I want good ache, laughter filled with tears, filled with laughter. Any dog whose legs are shorter than its body is long. Spice World, the Spice Girls movie. Spice World, the actual spice store. Stitch me a chariot of these lamps whirled, and I will be forever yours. I will take your joy like a birthright, swirl panic and rage in my mouth and pour them out into something of substance, a Kaddish cup full of wine. Most people wait their whole lives for a taste of something, for that trout I caught myself, then gutted on the floor of the sailboat, who gave its life so I could see whales from the bow. Thank you.
The thing about this first set is not everyone shows up all the time because life is complex. So we're gonna bring up a few people who would be reading later. We're gonna bring up first Laura Walks and then Thomas Walton to round out this first set. Then we're gonna take a break and drink and tell everybody how much we love their poems. All right? Cool.
Okay, Seattle, how many of you have been to Remedy Teas on Capitol Hill? So you know the ridiculous menu with so many tea names, right? I looked at it the first time I ever went, and I thought they were so fun, so I made a found poem out of all the tea names. And so this is called Tea for Two. Found poems made from the menu list of 200 plus tea names at Remedy on Capitol Hill. You are a jasmine beauty, floating amidst a vanilla sky with your home made of chai and a body so red hot that this vanilla nut wants to lift your rose hips and mighty mint your sugar plum. I want you to make me oolong, baby. Okay. And I want to make your magnolia blossom while your honey bush drips precious dew as you sip my gunpowder pearls. You can be my Aphrodite until finally my cherry amaretto and your banana split find deep sleep. Let's be love buds and detox from our jade passion paradise, ginger root our feet in tranquility, sleeping under the mango moon. And if I wake up and you aren't there to eat English breakfast, I may have to take steep measures to find and teabag you.
This is for Harry Peterson, who unfortunately passed away recently, and I was at his memorial today. He had this big, he was a farmer, and he had this huge, amazing barn, and the swallows would fly in and out of it, and so I always associate him with swallows. At dusk, the swallows circled high above the field, and the swallows circled low in it. The swallows circled high and low, or dove or lifted. The swallows lifted. Or the swallows dove, they flew for bugs in figure eights, or flew for bugs in circles. Or dove for bugs, the swallows dove, or dove for bugs, or lifted. No doves dove, only swallows dove over the field of clover. They circled for bugs in figure eights, and spirals circled or lifted. Over the oak they dove or rose in figure eights or circles. They swallowed and wove the air above the oak in fir and locust. They lolled and dove in waves of flight that undulated deftly and wove the air above the field. For bugs they dove or lifted. For bugs they wove, for bugs they dove in the air above the clover. They swallowed the swallows, the bugs they swallowed, as they dove and rose and circled. In figure eights they rose, swallowing bugs in rows or swarms or flurries, and wove the air above the field deftly quick and skillful. Or fast they rose and fast descended. They swallowed the swallows, the bugs they swallowed, until the dark filled the dusk and all the swallowing ended. When darkness was in duskness, all the swallowing ended. When darkness was when it was the end, was when all the swallows ended. All the swallowing swallows then that dove and rose above the oak, or circled high over the fir or low the locust. Over the clover field they dove, and over the lawn they lifted. All those swallows over the lawn that dove and rose in figure eights, or climbed or diving descended, until the dark filled the dusk and all the swallowing ended. All those swallows over the lawn that dove and rose had gone. All those swallows over the lawn they gone, all the swallows gone. Thanks.
Right, so that's our first set. Was that not amazing? Give everyone who just read a round of applause. Because this is a party, and parties require dancing, I encourage someone to fashion a crude drum set out of something and start playing, and everyone can dance for 10 minutes, then we'll be back. The beer is free, the water is free, there are tip jars to help us cover up some costs, and we'll be back here in 10 minutes with the second set. All right, we're going to get started in 2 minutes, so get yourself situated. We'll be right back on it. Thank you. Hello! And as the party turned its attention to the stage, the various speakings slowly settled. This mic is a way louder mic than I am generally used to, but when I shout people down. So sometimes if you experience a little bit of a hum or a buzz from it, it tends to work if you hold on to it. That's a pro tip for poets. So we're juggling things about a little bit. And we are going to start this set with Nadine Maestas.
Down, down. The lesbian says, go down.
Give her another beer!
No, that was last night. I'm just kidding. All right. So I think we've probably referenced the Stranger article that Paul Constant had written. Oh, okay. Well, I think he said something like, this is here at Cascadia is where things come to get hashed out and where the poets come to drink and fight and fuck and ask questions about Cascadia and what it all means and whether it's worthwhile or not. I think this festival has proved that it's absolutely worthwhile. Yeah. So, since we proved that part with the festival already, I decided to bring a poem about drinking and fucking and fighting. This poem is called, I think probably some of you have heard it, but it's since we are dealing with sort of the invisible line and two cultures coming together in the bioregion, it's going to announce itself as the American ethos, partly that destroys us already, but it's called Blood and Liquor If You're Shot. like, cowboy style. So if you just get shot, just put some bourbon on it. Pull it out and suck it up, right? So blood and liquor if you're shot. I'm such a gunslinger, for you tell such idiosyncratic things have no end, but rather we achieve transformation. And I believe you lying upon the desert ground, wild things grow and bloom such rare beauty like an uprising cactus, lavender, sage. So bone-weary, rare formed from the extravagance of I'm so bursting fire spots in the west, all along the I'm so heretic red, so turbulent winded horizon. Like a spring desert, I live like that, wild, wild west as they come, young and rough, my so delicate cowboy ego drifting smoke. Fresh deaths in my head. In a slaughter, no one is left to lift the dead. So they stay sometimes among the living, sometimes just wandering the land of rattling snakes and blood-sucking bats, half-eaten raw meat. Picture those grossly rotted fields, the effluvium of the west, steaming desert plains and star-crunched blue-black skies, all night by the fire cockfighting, like I'm a lover and a knife-in-boot fighter, then all bacon on horseback ready and beans filling a sack, the sun at my back, the Paleolithic desert light, my murderous hero with a leathering face, all hawkish squint and furrowed brow. You've been shot dozens or more times, 10 in the calf, grazed the left ear, like an aside to the stomach. The bullet spoke a hole right through you, a rifle and shoulder. Such love like an outlaw is.
Lene, hello, I'm Lene, I'm from Olympia. Yeah. This piece is called She Sings. The fat lady is singing and she's swinging a golden handbasket, the one we're all going to hell in, flying the stone and water ship that seems to have landed in the sea of Shit Crick. That must be the oar she's waving with her other hand as she belts out her tune atop an incinerator with the band, half running around like chickens with their heads cut off. The audience has most of theirs stuck in the sand. Yet she sings with the headless in a theater filled with stench. Her performance may well have been given by a serving wench. The solo of her life felling deaf on earless, flightless birds, her melody the only thing of beauty left to be heard, as she sings for the love of song, fulfilling her purpose and duty. The fat lady is singing and she's swinging a golden handbasket, made from the treasure of long-fallen empires, refined by the fires of war, fueled with black gold. What a pity the basket she swings is empty, when ages have passed with which to fill it with nature's bounty. Half of them spent conquering, looking for gold, the other half spent searching, saving souls. Yet she sings and swings the empty basket to remind us what we have instead. The solo of her life with two props to explain how the people of this world have gone insane. And she sings for the love of song, possessing emptiness. The fat lady is singing and she's swinging an oar, what came from a vessel in the land of before. She waves and she sings, we know not where we're going. The momentum picks up, yet no one is rowing, so hold on tight, a ship can't go on forever. Tossing and heaving in this sort of weather. No captain or first mate or crew could know in which direction towards what lands this storm blows. A time and a season for everything, they say. This too shall pass like every other day. Be sure and keep an eye out, a close watch, and pay attention, for rainbows are rumored to sing of the fat lady's ascension. Thank you.
Hello. Do you guys remember, not this past Thanksgiving, but the Thanksgiving before, when the Jets played a football game on Thanksgiving? I don't know what the name of that game is. Turkey Bowl? Anyway, this horrendous play where Mark Sanchez, the old quarterback, ran his helmet into his own player's butt and turned the ball over, fumbled it for a turnover. Yeah. And then the next play turned the ball over again for a touchdown. So this is not about that. This is called All-Time QB. As a football fan, she is fickle. Look, she missed Saturday Night Football again. Come down to it, she could give a shit about college ball. But this strange thing happened. She loves to throw a football. There's only so much football she can watch before she needs to throw the football. But it must be NFL, which, like college ball, is full of babies. Russell Wilson, a baby. Andrew Luck, little baby. Mark Sanchez, just a babe. Also, the reason she gave away her Jets t-shirt, even though they were her first team and she learned to love in that shirt. Her love gave her that shirt, even though her love didn't like that she liked the Jets and called them her own, though she'd done nothing to claim them, and didn't like why she liked them, i.e. Sanchez is a babe. And her love wouldn't like that she gave the shirt away so sudden after that Thanksgiving butt fumble. It's been a year since that fumble. Now she uses possessive pronouns referring to the Seahawks watching Saturday night highlights with strangers. Eating nachos alone at the bar, she is at her best, but still disappointed. She will never eat all these nachos alone. And people are not like her. People will refuse her leftovers, and nachos don't keep.
This is called the frenzy of the red berry. They appear en masse like some outlaw biker gang, descending like locusts, raining like toads, pelting the earth like children, spilling into the playground, drunk and tumbling pie-eyed into the 2 a.m. dawn, racing full throttle around the yard, swooping, then flashing in rust-colored autumnal solidarity. Whoosh, whoosh, they dive with wings, frantic like all existence hinged on it, beating one another out as if embroiled in multidimensional chess, without deliberation, like Huns chasing down the Sabine women, screaming, shrieking, aerial dynamos, daredevils, hot-dogging hotshots, rebels without a pause, engaged in some cosmic carte blanche, ribbon-cutting, all-you-can-eat heat. Orbs of red clusters, vulnerable as testicles, bright like lanterns, beacons of temptation, picking them off in their yellow beaks, gorging greedily, ripping at them like Promethean entrails, stealing and resting their feathered corpulence on bobbing branches, hearts rapid fire, pitter-patter, swallowing as they seize another and another, more and more. They are everywhere in a flash, 20, 30, hurtling and Hitchcockian, spinning, twirling like spastic lariats, dashing, dipsomaniacal, magically avoiding collision without yielding one feather of cartwheeling cocksurety. 4 robins, I imagine, to be the senior sages, splash giddy and gaga in the concrete bird bath, the anchor of this hub. Wiser, perhaps, fatter it seems, more mature possibly, they vie for perspective. Like old men with little hard-ons, they cheer the youngsters on, splash and wade with uncontained zeal, the flurry of berry mania, berry-palooza, berry-philia, filled with an insatiable, gluttonous, crimson-fed, narcotic-fused, feather-stuffed, bird-bracing ecstasy. These seniors shake their heads, pump their birdie fists, catch their reflective colors, splash with glee and rejuvenating joy, dip, flap, flutter, lowering their bright, plump bellies, displacing the brackish water, shake the wet from their wings before rejoining the youngsters. Join or die, and maybe join, then die, in between which fly, fly. And then it is over, as instantaneous as it began. As if some secret alarm had sounded and they take to the greater elsewhere. The big blue beating passage returning the scene back to the calm that prevails as the yard settles beneath the yellowing maple and its stripped bare branches, its nearly fallen leaves, spinning, twirling seeds, concluding with bunches of untapped berry clusters left behind like random booty from an interrupted robbery. The air reverberates with their departed energy, like a battlefield after the fact, only nowhere near as sad, as a big, sleepy, orange tabby appears. This brave voyeur saunters out, watchful, cautious, travels the seed-laden lawn, the crabgrass, moss, clover, twigs, scattered berry husks, shell-shocked worms, nervous beetles, leaps up upon the bird bath, sniffs the tainted water, does not drink, gazes philosophically into the sky, blinks, then continues on, disappearing slowly into the dying azaleas and fallen foxglove. Thank you.
Long hair and it's buzzed now, but what if you go into a years-long coma and no one buzzes your hair in all that time and you need these things when you wake up for your long hair? Things you got because you intended to eat them, but then you couldn't. Things that are radioactive, so you can't put them in the garbage. Things that got ruined when they got wet. Things you can only get in the summer. Things you only want in the summer. Things that protect your things in the winter. Things that make the difference between being a have and a have-not. Things that hurt. Things that tickle. Things that clean you. Things that make you dirtier. Things that save your soul. Things that destroy your integrity. Things you must not mention in polite company. Things you offer a guest if you are polite. Things you say that change everything. Things you do that change everything. Things you think about when you can't sleep. Things you want instead of other things. Things you want until you have them. Things you thought would fill the emptiness. Things that make you regret you ever touched that thing. Things you'll never get over. Things you forget. Things you make resolutions to give up every New Year's Eve but never do. Things that are worth a lot of money but you'd never sell them. Things you really ought to get rid of before you die and someone finds them. Things that will look fine once you get them home and throw a coat of paint on them. Things you wouldn't have dreamed possible back in high school. Things better left alone. Things you pass by trying not to look. Things no one else could do. Things you could get arrested for. Things you talk about. Things you never talk about. Things you take with you when you move. Things you leave out on the corner when you move. Things that show up in somebody else's garage sale after you sell them in your garage sale. Things so profound they resist being named. Things so ordinary that you never notice any difference between them. Things that you will never have. Things that you will always have. Things, just things, listed things you can do or not do things too. Things you can do or not do. Mu things, amen things, assalamu alaikum things, namaste, blessed be, peace out things.
Do we have a Carolyn Wright? Stop messing with me, guys. Then it appears that we do have a Chris Paul.
Hello. Hello. All right, so this is a part of a series that was written for an art opening that will be taking place at Majestic Arts Gallery in Greenwood on July 11th. Yeah. It's called Shades of Blue. It's quiet. The gelid namazu does not smudge in crystals of corydalus or juniper polea condensate. It cannot be found in the soil sifted earth extracted from coiling hair. Patience for its name when it is seen first cut into the day, a tinge of the freshest slice, an opening that gives you choices, depth, range, and verbiage. For this setting, we'll call you Mr. Brashear, and every day, Mr. Brashear. Thank you.
Oh, where's my fold? There it is. It's a very old poem, but it's reasonable to weigh. I'm in Cascadia. Think you're a mirror for Chad. Every time I make my trip home, I want you there. Strange, no longer sad, almost smiling for me. How silly we must seem, sliding down Salt Lake streets, strolling in love with our sickness, with each other's hand. Oh, how we sit in loud cafes and talking, endlessly talking about your world, how you hate this idea or that phrase, of how you want kids, baby blue hotel night, you and she and too much cocaine, and she loves you but drags you on and on with her talk of some other moron who doesn't come close to you, who mathematically proved his love for her when you can just say it. Leaves you in your corner, pawing at the hem of her Levi's that she took off in that room and invited you into your first. I think I'm a mirror. Should have been there. Wait for my turn, and I'll tell you about how for a moment, looking in a mirror in a dirty bathroom, acid, bleeding thumb, and a beer, I heard the voices of fiery angels. They told me that I'm the sun in flesh. I tell you this awful statistic and that awful fact, and we laugh, embrace in the grass. It's a dark night walk in Liberty Park. Sounds and bikes with your stories, illicit sexual encounters with older men, who and why they sucked your cock. You say you want children, little boys in little pants who love you because of your genes. All I say is nothing. All I think is no. Maybe I'm a Marxist, or I know you hated your father, I hate my father, and you're too beautiful to be hated by children. Or the bombs are going to be falling, let's keep the death numbers down. Anything, but I think that you're too unstable. That anyone as lost in their own mess as we should not care for a scraped knee. Always back to San Francisco and our midnight exodus, your chocolate-covered snap in Sacramento, your morning flee back to our Egypt, our salted valley. Yes, you order the wine. You know far more than I who drink only beer. Yes, oysters. You know far more than my empty monk-like belly. Staring across the table, I think it's strange that I should feel like the father, sick to my stomach every day, worried that you've gone too far, that it is the final swing of sane. I, who hate family and all the warm, wet feeling that go with. I would want to end the world. I think you were a mirror. Would want to hold you to my chest, coo you, and say that you're all right. I think you were a mirror, and you scare me. When you see me, I see me, and you see you, and we are locked this way, love.
Hi, this poem is from a series about extremely painful shyness. A well-preserved echo building a thicker skin. Listen, dolorous Amit, consent to a disciplined elite. My scene is, Auntie tell us, alike in temper, it's all that matters. You'd like us. Null, I'm Raincoat's tutor, audible varnish facility. More or less a disciplined solitudinaire, not inside dorky fuss bust. Don't you accuse an Eros, said my era, convulsing a piebald convalescent. Place your porous sad sack forcibly down. Don't say it's all pulverized tristesse. Noon shivers accrue to bookish disciples of dignity. Adios, commandos. I'm a felt person, fortified internal night, Commodore you'd neck. Curb your conversation's ultra-sky qualms and aim at incident, ligature, undying id. Doctor, I sit among nice curses connected. My sins tend to ferment, some few get matter, some few get present solicitude ambulance. Alike, I'm nascent redo. I burrow fast. I balloon. Thanks.
evening. All right, sad-ish or dark? All right, dark. Dark. It's called Earpiece. This is new. When listening to the devil's voice, you hear what you want. The genius, the junkie, the politically complex. They all exit the loneliness of the stage to revive the waves that lure you to swim in the wilderness. They preach to you of the fall and the flyover, but offer no protection against the razor of the gentle path, the melodrama and the intimate. You beg to hear more possibilities, the assortment of the palette, the prescription for weakened enchantments, but the voice is convincing of this agreement to martyr-like symptoms. Because your shame cannot stifle the itch you hide in the corner where no one looks, but everyone sees. When listening to the devil's voice, step wildly into the meadow with your blind foot forward. Acknowledge the implausibility of the smoke you dig, the flame you touch by touching, the tightrope of the novel, the sphere of rain and the river, and the distance to the grave. The wealth that moves men's hands and stains their blood and dries the rivers that once ran deep for this signature, this impeccable nature of not God, in ritual and honor and fear and control. The black magic voices calling to a creative playground and a new line to cross. Thank you.
They hate that. I like to torture them. This is about the blue moon. It's called First Live Show. You dears, you delicate dears with melodicas and kazoos, doing God's work with drunks hollering NASCAR witticism, fixed to their assigned bar stools with you on stage in this dive. Your voices tremble like frightened mimes in Old West saloons. Hillbilly guns firing into the ceiling while you confuse the locals with Commedia dell'arte and the piano player doesn't even notice. You are better than this crude rabble. You call for an MC with a European accent, mustached, leaning on an ivory cane, crisp delineation by spotlight. You deserve cigar smoke and lusty red curtains behind your toy instruments and your diaphanous harmonies. The crowd would wear elaborate masquerade masks, some in gowns, some in suits and hard shoes, having known beforehand this was an occasion. They would be ready to make you blush with applause, ready to hold you there with open chest, heartbeat love. They had this show, you see, shining in their minds during their long days like a reward. You were their reward, and you felt goosebumps at their first whooping cheer.
Two down, one to go. We're going to take a 8-minute break. I'm going to say this. Poets rarely get paid. They thrive off your love. Talk to the people you've seen read tonight. Talk to yourself if you read tonight. And we'll be back in about 8 minutes. The night gets longer and the breaks get shorter. I got all these notebooks in my house, so they say I'm a hoarder.
A Buddhist epigraph to this. It's
It's called The Storm. The function of fire is to burn and give light. The function of water is to wash away filth. The winds blow away dust and breathe life into plants, animals, and human beings. The earth produces the grasses and trees, and heaven provides nourishing moisture. Nichiren Daishonin. The afternoon was burnt paper brushing up against the mountains, pushing the wind. Waves of heat on the tip of a pear, barely able to stand still. Feet crunch on dry earth as soft cotton cumulus formed into gray constellation of storm cloud. Thunder, blossoms of lightning, a plastic smell hung, suspended. As a wall of black came running, an undertaker's casket full of dark possibility toward our half-built shelter, rebar stakes still not pounded far enough into the ground. And when you saw the strength of the gale lift metal from the earth, you grasped for the hammer, but it was too far. We held the structure with our 6 arms, praying until it subsided. Little raindrops kissed the scattered. A box blown open revealed orange and blue fuzzy hat and postage stamps, strewn among black and white squares of cardboard glistening in the post-mortem light of explosion. 3 little humans, bruised and scraped, giggling.
Hello. Where are my nerds at? Do I have any nerds? Any physicist nerds? I know, there's like very specific kinds of nerds. I wrote a poem about physics. It's actually about chemistry. Thank you so much for throwing me up here. I appreciate it. I found God in chemistry class. Here I am, new to 9th grade in the concepts of independent thinking, sitting in chemistry class being lectured on the content of things. What is it we humans are made of? Organs, cells, organelles, molecules and atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, neutrinos and quarks. Suddenly I am off the deep end. Awestruck, slack-jawed son staring into infinity, and the inquiry begins. How is it that there is more space inside of an atom than there is actual matter? And how is it that all this space and tiny bits of matter yield themselves to this gravitational dance between dynamic, zooming electrons and magnetic cuddling clusters of nuclei? What holds all that together anyway? See, an atom knows what it needs to exist, and it will always find the easiest route to getting those needs met, which is to sit down next to another atom, scooch in a little closer, and swap electrons like peanut butter sandwiches on the playground. You see, the way an atom becomes whole is to become open, hollow-wristed, naked in its element, trembling with trust that one day it will be filled by an electron, a force all its own, freestanding agent of divine flow, unquenchable shooting stars barreling through space, leaving light waves in their wake. They go where they are needed. They create kamikaze balance in this seemingly fitful force of chaos, holding us all together by their willingness to be attractable and held on to for as long as needed, by their sheer devotion to light. And this all winds up making sense, that we all consist of complete chaos, set to a rhythmic pulse of waveform cycle in true need of connection. I feel like a hot-collared preacher just thinking about that moment. But God does not let you look into their face without catching you on fire and consuming you at the same time. So, when that cosmic God face dropped into my 9th grade heart, all I wanted was to be a part of everything. To fling myself wildly through space, to go where I was needed, to be a force of change that balanced things out. Dear God, make me an electron. But if I can't be an electron, then dear God, please send me one. This naked, quivering atom is all you see before you. All this space is cracking open my insides. My nucleus is cracking open, splitting into nuclear fission, and I hear a thing like that can wipe the face of the earth clean. And if it is so, then my true nature is to be a force of that much destruction, then dear God, please make it clean. Make it quick. Make it brilliant. Make it last. I hear the cracks are the way the light gets back in. I hear that the universe is made up not of atoms, but of stories. So may our splitting nuclei birth light back into this world. May the telling of our stories be a force of change that balances things out.
I bet you'd be remembered if, upon interrogation, you asked the feds No, I don't mind if you ask me a few questions. But before you ask me a few questions, would you mind if I asked you a few questions? Do you mind if I record your responses to listen to later while I'm falling asleep? No, I don't drink coffee, but I would enjoy watching you drink a cup. No, thanks, but would you please smoke one for me? Why don't you come sit next to me, here, under the light? We can pretend we're on stage together in a two-man show. What can you tell me about the events in question? And please don't leave out any details just because you think they may seem insignificant, though you'll probably be right, but that's not for you to determine. Where were you on the night of last night? Where were you on the night before the night of last night? Where will you be tomorrow night? What are you doing for your birthday? Did you always know you wanted to be a Fed? Are you aware there are other uses of the word Fed? Some examples are the past tense and past participle of the word feed, an informal shortening of the Federal Reserve Board, and impatiently disgusted when accompanied by the word up. Since it's also well known that Fed is short for federal agent, have you ever considered changing your title to be more classified, i.e. more top secret? Have you ever considered FUD? Have you ever thought about turning interrogation transcripts into found poems? Perhaps publishing them as a chapbook entitled, What This FUD Heard You Said. Do you, or have you at any point in time engaged in a cipher with other Feds? And if so, do you find it tricky to rock a rhyme that's right on time? Does the Bureau allow you to associate with non-Feds? I don't actually have any Fed friends that I know of. Can I see your gun? That's a really nice gun. Have you ever considered painting it black? If you did, no one would even know you painted it. Why do Feds keep guns in their armpits? Who invented the armpit holster anyway? What a strange place to keep a gun. Do you consider yourself a hustler? If so, did you have to hustle from day one out there on the streets just to make it this far? I have to pee. Can I borrow a straw? Do you have a sign? If so, what is it? I understand that you may or may not believe in that shit. Can you verify that not only wasn't the moon landing staged, but that the moon wasn't staged? Does the name Kaiser Soze ring a bell? Have you ever made anyone literally melt? Could I see your gun again? Thanks. I just really wanted to say gun again. Gun again. Gun again. Have you ever considered, what if someone actually didn't assassinate Kennedy?
Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? If I leave my eyeballs here, may I please use the restroom? Are you interested in a lateral move? Is laterally away feds are even capable of moving? I miss Jewish food. Do you have any Canadalach soup? Do you carry a glass half full of water with you at all times to gauge your level of positive thinking? I didn't think so. Are you ham or are you sandwich? If you've got a $50 bill, would you mind terribly throwing your hands up? Isn't it true that Area 51 actually involved extraterrestrials, but that the real controversy is over the number 51 being chosen as a multiple of 3 that most people would mistake for a prime number? Does the name Hamakavula ring a bell? By ring a bell here, I mean remind you of your childhood. Do you remember your childhood? What happened back at the farm? How many licks do you think it takes? Do you feel lucky, Fudd? Have you ever danced with the devil? Never mind. I really have to pee. Do you have an apple? Did I see you at the players' ball? Did you come from far and wide? Were you wearing an afro or braids? Were you pushing a gangster ride? I've been having trouble sleeping with my eyes open. Do you think you could prescribe me something? I really, really have to pee. Would you mind at least putting on this blindfold? Does the name Matt ring a bell? What about Sarah? Approximately how many of each would you estimate that you know? What would happen if I stuck this in my oatmeal? Can I get an amen? Or at least an omen? Does the name Henrietta ring a bell? By ring a bell here, I mean a literal cow. Are you on your grind? And by on your grind, I mean really on your grind. If your mother says don't chew it, do you swallow it in spite? I've never even heard of Oliver North. Can I go now?
Hi. So maybe this was just one of my things, but when it was set up so that we had to pay attention to who was in front of us so that we'd know when we needed to go on, I started to panic because I don't know most of the people here. So I'm Ryan. Oh. I know Robert. He's one of the people that I know. He's a good man. But, okay. So now everyone next knows. Hey. Hi. Okay. That's weird. Certainly, there will forever be a few more miles of tunnel, just as you can always split your skin on the fence boards, especially so if you watch too closely through them or do not watch at all. In the early 21st century, I was a monster. Just as you can always split your skin on the fence boards, there are plenty of opportunities to disappear, perhaps beneath. In the early 21st century, I was a monster, and like most stories, that is another one. There are plenty of opportunities to disappear, perhaps beneath the yellow-green grass, not directly, but farther down, and like most stories, that is another one, but I will tell you this, beneath the grass there are tunnels. The yellow-green grass, not directly, but farther down, not directly, but in league with the complicated disappearance. I will tell you this, beneath the grass there are tunnels. They are the entry point. They are where everyone must start who wishes to disappear, not directly, but in league with the complicated disappearance is the blanket of reason. It can smother you or not. They are the entry point, the tunnels. They are where everyone must start. The blanket is there, but I cannot tell where it is. It would not be where I left it. Is the blanket even of reason? It can smother you or not. There is no choice here to be certain. The choice is about the tunnels, but the blanket is in there, though I cannot tell you where it is. It would not be where I left it. That is how I discovered I was a monster. Remember? The early 21st century? There is no choice there to be certain. The choice is about the tunnels. I walked the tunnels for years. That is how I discovered I was a monster. Remember the early 21st century? They said, go into the tunnels, so I went into the tunnels. I walked the tunnels for years, so much so that all smiles warped and sharpened the smiles at me. They said, go into the tunnels, so I went into the tunnels. This all sounds awful and oppressive, but I knew what I was doing with those fence boards then, so much so all the smiles warped and sharpened at me, especially as I watched too closely through them or did not watch them at all. This all sounds awful and oppressive, but I knew what I was doing with those fence boards then, and certainly there will forever be a few more miles of tunnel. Thank you.
Hello. I'm going to hold this so it doesn't make noise. This is wonderful. Thank you for having me. This is called The Better Word. My Seattle didn't have the same meaning as yours. The molehills you built out of mountains towered above my skyscrapers, and the ocean stretched, no, expanded, lingered like unwanted time. In the bluffs and peaks of the Cascades, your north met my south, and the lines blurred or blended, coalesced, until our boundaries fell away and our territories became neutral. States versus provinces didn't matter to us. We were both from Cascadia, the same rivers pumping through our veins, cradled by the same mountain range, and we fell madly, no, dangerously, no, irrevocably in love. Like the first 10 to the 43rd second of the Big Bang, when all the good stuff happened. When you unsheathed your gun, no, yes, your gun, and the shots rang, thundered in my ears, reverberating off the walls in that matchbook of a hotel room, 2 lightning bugs cupped in my palm. When I called you crying because Alder Grove was on fire and our favorite tree was certainly among the ashes, you calmed me, quieted me, enveloped me in stillness, a dust molecule on the head of a pin. Keep your ear to the ground, you said. Listen for my steps, rather my cadence. And I dropped to my knees to feel your pulse. If only it had kept beating. If only the distance between us had stayed just an arm's length away, because time will have its way, and even the perfect word can't give us wings to transport us from the ragged cliffs of the sound into softer landscapes. Paths will still wind and bend and detour into dead ends until the silence that remains becomes tangible, like the heavy emptiness of a dial tone. It takes 22 days to form a new habit, but that summer stretched out in dog years. And all the rain from all the corners of our great divide never taught me how to heal. It's still your water that laps against my hillsides, and I don't know how to make smart choices, because it's on my bucket list to run away from home, to scoop up handfuls of your sand and build a castle on the coast, a territory without blame. For as long as these fault lines run north to you, I'll never be grounded again.
That is me. Yeah. Right on. Warren Dean Fulton. Yay, I cheer for myself. Oh, I like that feedback buzz thing. At the end of the century,
Its days are numbered, like it or not. Today is tomorrow's yesterday, curled up inside a skeleton embryo nailed to the coffin of extinction. This was a century of giant steps forward while leaving bloody boot prints in the garden, like falling back in the tar pits of the running long jump of progress. Progress. This was a century of world wars and the World Wide Web, of the global village and our world being led by village idiots full of sound and fury while conducting a seance. This was the century when we drafted up the Earth's epitaph, when the end began through our ecological apocalypse, as a global warning about global warming was largely ignored. This was a century we all put our planet in an extremely compromising situation. All flags should be lowered and burnt in the name of a public borderless crisis. Over 4 billion anonymous statistics are digging a grave for Mother Nature. So much keeps happening right now, and urgency, atrocities, is and is and is our obituaries. And nothing has changed except everything that has changed. This was a century we played endangered species dominoes, testing the limits of balance. Roll up your sleeves, do the hokey pokey, chain yourself to a tree in the rainforest. Do something. Don't just sit there watching TV as we commit massive suicide. This is our wake-up call. We all talk of the weather, we talk of the news, of darkness and disaster. What of our desire to live? History is being written now. Nothing can be postponed. The future is not what it used to be, not since the days our species first stood upright to take a look around at beautiful vistas have we hunched over so exhausted. Tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow, and soon we shall all of us sleep with our ancestors as ecosystems unravel and some scream with their mouth shut as the infinite universe's spiraled heights circle like vultures round our tiny blue planet, waiting. Thank you.
Hello. It was and is and still will be a pleasure to shoot all of you in the next couple days. And I was just about to honor the last, what I thought was the last aging Canadian in this room, but I think she was sitting over there and she left. So we still have some aging Canadians alive. So yeah. And speaking of some history, so 2 years ago, the first Cascadia Festival was the first time that I actually got an official reading gig. It was in this gymnasium over there by the old Orca School. And I didn't know how to cope with it, so I had quite a few drinks before. And then the legendary Sarah Brickman was doing some I don't know what she did, but I still meet people who said, and I have no idea what she did. She was standing behind me, and I still meet people who tell me, I've seen you reading with Sarah. She was great. And at some point, I read my hummus poem. I don't know if you're familiar with it. At some point, I got off the stage and I started strangling Greg Bam, out of all people. And he was very forgiveful. 2 years have passed. I suspect this is not maturity. This is melancholy. And I wrote this especially for this event. Some of you may have heard the early version. Thank you, Chris, for talking me out of the music segments. It is called Lonely Douglas Fir. I just listened to echoes once again, as everything is indeed green and submarine. It's legal nowadays, at least in some parts of Cascadistan. Some may say roots too shallow. Some may. We planted trees all around. The Ottomans chopped them down. Steam train food. At least that's what we were told. Eucalyptus to dry up the swamps, pines to cover the land. Citrus sells well in Europe under the Jaffel label. That's what we were told. Eucalyptus in deserted villages turned into military bases once the locals ran away. Avocados once the citrus was uprooted. All other accounts should be discounted. My parents were locals. They too ran away, rerouting their routes. My ex used to jokingly say, I ran as far as I could from my father. Evergreen currency, evergrey city. No Ottomans, only wirehouses. Pear and apple already in the back. My hands planted the maple at the front, a full moon prior to my daughter's birth. And if I make it upstream, I will lay to rest by avocado trees I myself also planted once the citrus was gone, surrounding the small cemetery down by the creek in the shade of the Holocaust Museum on the other side. Träumt von einer Palme, du fern in Morgenland. Einsam und schweigend trauert auf brennender Felsenwand. And one of the better translations I could get is dreaming of a palm tree in distant eastern land, lonely and silent in the scorching sand.
Hello. This is called Figs and Walnuts. My mother and I do dishes while my father and grandfather eat fruit. Figs and walnuts, pears cut and quartered. I never wanted to be a man, but you say woman like bricks bundled. You say, I love you, like defeat. Don't clear the glasses until the wine bottle is empty and your father starts playing with the cork. I never wanted to be a man, but you say woman like disdain. You say, I love you like it's my fault. Figs and walnuts, pears cut and quartered. My mother and I do dishes. I never wanted to be a man, but you say woman like opposition. Wipe up crumbs from linen tablecloth. My father and grandfather eat fruit. I don't want to tie and tether, but you say I love you like it's something I did to you. Figs and walnuts, pears cut and quartered. I never wanted to be a man. Don't clear the wine glasses. But I don't want to be a woman the way you say woman. Thank you.
So everybody had a good time tonight? So, who wants to go to Canada next year? That's right. Instead of reading a poem, I'm going to plant an idea in your heads. And that is that I have a feeling these are the hardcores. These are people that stay, they brave the rain, they've been to, yeah, let's hear it for the hardcores. But next year, this festival is going to be in Canada. And what we're going to try to do is get a bus and make it easy for everyone to get up there. So if you want to be a part of that, and if you've enjoyed this, and you want to help it grow, just let me know. Let Paul know. Let Graham know. It's going to be, I think, in late April next year in Nanaimo. But we will get a bus. We will paint it if we have to. We'll go Ken Kesey on this if we need to. But what we need is your support. So if you want to do this, I mean, it will cost some money, but it will be an opportunity to grow the community and to get everyone up to Canada and experience that and help this festival grow. So if you've enjoyed it. You guys take 2 weekends off and you can afford this. That's right. We'll deliver you. We'll find a place for you to stay. So think about it. So thank you. Thank you for coming. I want to thank my co-host, Graham Isaac. We'll be up in a minute. But before Graham closes the show, we're going to have Mark Johnson come up and read the poem. So thanks for coming out, everybody.
Okay, see if I can get that thing up here. My general direction. Hey, everybody. All right, well, this is a list. You heard a list a little bit like this earlier. My list is called Things I'd Rather Not Talk About. My sex life, toenail fungus, salary and bonus, farts like bread rising, what distracts me, avoided duty, why women adjust their clothing while talking to me, how good I have it, what I've gotten away with, why I got away, after I die, the upside of war, the reason I'm crying, how much time I waste, lying, punches I threw, why abortions are necessary, false impressions, the narcissus in me, facial asymmetries, if my wife left me, why I don't get a dog, being left behind, locking myself out, getting myself off, what I have that isn't mine, how much time I've spent, why I use the word rather, words I wish I'd said, work done in haste, work left undone, what I hate. Now I've stripped waist down, felt the full body blush of the IV isotope, swallowed the contrast agent. One question, Doc, see anything abnormal?
Hello, everyone. When my father cut apples in the kitchen, and my mother danced to worship music, and my father kneaded the dough, it didn't matter if it was flaky. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. What mattered was the ice cream and the food and the way we sat around the table just waiting for our dad to come out with oven mitts. Yeah. That was not the poem I was planning to do. I just made that up. But the thing about making up poetry is if you pause long enough, you can just keep making up lines. But all that's true. My dad makes a killer fucking pie. And oftentimes he'll make the pie and we'll eat the pie and then he'll put on James Brown and start dancing with my mom and she'll like pretend to be embarrassed. But she won't actually be embarrassed. So what I want to say is thank you all for coming. Thank you all for staying. Tomorrow night, there is the closing reading at Piggott Auditorium. I believe you all have gold passes or something similar. Francis McHugh, Heather McHugh, Magid Zaire, and Stephen Collis. Am I missing someone? I think I'm missing someone. Is Joanne Arnott on that one? Magid. I said Magid. All right, so this poem that I'm actually going to do is for all of your tomorrows. And for some of you are definitely my todays. And it's for all of your waking ups. So perhaps it will be tomorrow. Who knows? The district today is an old fisherman's cringing face. This entire block, this entire square is so hungover, we can feel it in our bones. Faces don't work, and man, I'm telling you, knees are a challenge. On the scale of practical worthlessness, I am at least a 7.5. Didn't even spill any out of this one. It is for that reason I chose this room with the wood and the low lights. The server is rugged, is good looking, but not intimidatingly clean. The songs that play are songs we know, and if we don't, they feel like we should. I will take this corner booth. Please, let the men in the tall towers decide our fates and panic when they go wrong. Let the men in the glass buildings all watch their piles disintegrate and build them back up again. I will take this corner booth for as long as it will have me in another little victory. Thank you, everyone. Good night.